Welcome to the broadcast, my dears. Time is against me today. I don't have long, but I just wanted to pop in and check a few things through with you, and also to share my joy and my glee at the footage of the King, the candid footage that was taken without his knowledge, as far as I can tell, on the Balmoral estate when he was out walking. If you haven't seen the footage, I will provide a link in the description box. It's from a video. We bumped into King Charles on this bike ride, and there were some bikers who were biking through the Balmoral estate, and as they'd entered the estate they had noticed a presence of security detail, some armed guards, and so they had an inkling that royalty was in the area. And it's not unusual to see royalty out and about on walks, but we've never really had an encounter such as this one, filmed before. And on this occasion they were biking and they saw a cavalcade of, was it Range Rovers? Some cars filing past, and they sort of whispered to themselves and said, "Oh, I'm sure that's some minor royalty in there." They said they'd seen some children, likely guests of the King, file past, and they thought that they'd missed out on seeing any royalty on their trek, but they hadn't. And the next moment you see them chancing upon His Majesty.
So is this your summer vacation to Balmoral, is it?
The weather was better.
Yeah, I know, it's typical.
Yeah.
The midges are horrendous.
Yeah. The worst I felt this year was this morning.
Yeah.
And because you see, His Majesty explained that the party of other royals had gone off in the cars and he had asked to walk because he likes to walk, and he was seen out rambling.
You're being left to walk and everyone else is...
Oh yeah, but I like my walking. So.
And it warmed the cockles of my heart. It really did, my dear. You know what, I actually... you know that I'm a big wuss. Tears sprang to the eyes. What am I like? I know it is pathetic, but some tears sprang to my eyes. It's the truth. When I saw the image of our monarch, our king, bumbling along with his hat and his crook, you know, in his own thoughts.
So I'm trying to get more trees to grow around.
Yeah, it's looking lush compared to what it was a few years ago.
Alone and at home in his kingdom that he loves so very much, in nature, the nature that we all know that he enjoys and is so passionate about. There was that side, and then there was the side that he is so cosy that he was happy to just stop for a chat with his subjects and not treat them as subjects, but just as people on the path, on the way, sharing goodwill as one normally would.
Andrew's a minor celebrity in the mountain bike world.
Really?
Yeah.
Not compared to you, sir.
Not really on the mountain bike.
It was so natural. It was the way that he said, "I like my walking." He said, "I like my walking." And he wasn't exasperated to meet with them. Thankfully, they didn't ask him for a selfie. Now, they were taking the footage via a GoPro camera, I believe, that they were filming with anyway, so I think it was already on. I don't expect that he spotted it, but I'm glad that they didn't ask for a selfie, because it would have ruined it would have spoiled it for the King, I think, although he's used to it, but he must get asked for them constantly these days. And so they didn't spoil the moment with that, but we had the delight of seeing that moment captured on the GoPro. And they shared some good-humoured conversation. He mentioned that his father and his sister used to go camping with him just up the road for a picnic and a barbecue.
Do you ever stay in the estate house there?
No, we used to.
Yeah.
Camp.
You camp?
When I was very young. My father and my sister.
And what was really endearing about it was that the chap that captured it and the two people he was with, you know, they could barely contain their glee afterwards. They were trying to be so cool. Now, I get the impression from what I know about these people that they weren't necessarily royal fans, should we put it that way. They didn't seem to have anything against the idea of the individuals, the private individuals, but not what you call a fan of royalty. Perhaps those who might have been joining in spirit with those chanting "Not my King" at all the recent Scottish events. I can't say that for certain. It's just what my intuition tells me, that certainly not really any fan of the institution itself. Well, what I loved is that he was so excited after meeting the king, and he kind of pedaled away, and he said, I take it back. He's pretty cool.
I take it back. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That was a king.
He said, so whatever he'd been saying about the king, he took back immediately to his pals. He said, it's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy. I appreciated that candor. And he said,
that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. What a nice man. What a nice man. Lovely man. Had time for us. Nice, yeah.
I'm annoyed. He said, this is the best bit. He said, I'm annoyed because I don't want to care.
I'm annoyed because I didn't want to care, but that was quite cool.
You do care, my dear. Admit it. You are excited and exercised as anybody would be, my dear. Yes, you were. And do you know why? Because that is the magic of royalty that I tell you. What is it, if not magic, my dear? What is it that transforms the mundane? The mundanity of a chap walking along with his crap and... Oh dear. With his... Not his crap. Cap and his crook, my dear. Oh, lordy, lordy. You know, just bumbling. What is it that turns that man, that normal man, anyone you'd meet, into something that gets you excited about your day and the world? If it means nothing to them, you know, they're not royalists, he's not into celebrity, so why is he so gleeful? That's the magic. That's the magic of royalty, my dear. It's still there in spades, yes. And what I really liked, you know, yes, this was indeed, because it's gone viral, you know, and this is PR that you cannot buy. And isn't it funny? We hear from Harry about Camilla's great PR campaign and strategies. Well, whether or not those go on behind the scenes, this is the kind of thing that Charles couldn't engineer if he tried, didn't know it was going on. And it's just brilliant publicity because it's just Charles being Charles, both man and king, but especially in this example, man, but you cannot extrapolate the fact that he is king. You cannot extrapolate his majesty from the fact of his existence. No. No airs and graces. None.
He was nice. He was.
Very nice.
There we go. The king is a nice man.
And he's walking.
And he's walking when everyone else is driving.
And also, what I love, no schmaltz. And this is a biggie in this day and age. Do you see? It's quite refreshing to have Charles just acting in a natural, normal way without the schmaltz and without, oh, we love you, you know, writing on bananas, this whole effect, my dear. You know the kind of things they get up to. Contrast his humble nature compared with any other celebrity than most world leaders of this very day. Contrast it. You know, we're talking about our king and king of 15 other realms here, my dear. You know, the last fading fruits of empire, yes. Contrast the humility. Just a decent guy.
Well, lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take care, don't fall off.
No, take care.
Ooh la la! We must sojourn to France. Hello, my French fruits. Thank you for giving their majesties a wonderful welcome this week for state affairs. The arrival, and I'll mainly be talking about Camilla's wardrobe, by the way, my dear, because I don't care about all the other boring stuff. It's very nice, but and they don't even call the state dinner a banquet, do they? I'm sure there's protocols behind that, but I wanted it to be a banquet. I'm going to call it a banquet, but, you know, it was a state dinner. And she was a state. She was dressed up like a fondant fancy, but actually I loved that colour. I loved that shade of pink. It was glorious as she emerged from the aircraft. She was like a modern day version of the late Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, isn't it? And you can make of that what you will. We all know that he was Charles's favourite. Grandmama, yes, she does put me in mind of the late Elizabeth. You know, slightly different look. And as I say, updated for modernity. But there you are, gorgeous shade of pink. I had reservations about the hat initially. Sort of frilly, flouncy carnation affair. But actually, she did pull it off and it grew on me. President Macron has been very welcoming to both of them, as was Madame Macron. But yes, very handsy, isn't he? Very, very handsy. Keen to be all over the king all over the time with hands. again, nothing wrong with showing affection in ways, but you know, they are king and queen. Let's keep a little bit of decorum. You don't know where those hands have been. The wind, as the Queen got off of the plane, as she alighted, was tempestuous. It was really blowy and breezy. And I'm afraid that the Queen, holding onto her hat and looking rather panicked about it, does spoil some of the imagery. It spoils some of the grace. Yes, I am harsh in my criticism. That's what I'm here to do. So if you don't like it, fuck off. You know, if one can put a man on the moon, one can invent ways to keep a hat attached to a head and to style the hair in a way that isn't going to distract. You know, we had the same affair at the coronation, playing with the hair and the fringe. And I understand it was windy. I do, but I also understand that solutions could be found, you know, and glamorous solutions can be found. Look to the 30s and 40s. Look to the hairdos of the era. You know, maybe fix some tight curls, shampoo and set. I don't know. It's not for me to invent. Hair scarf, Easter bonnet, tie that round your head. I don't care what it is, my dear, but you've got the kingdom and 15 other realms at your fingertips. Find a way to fix the hair and fix the hat without, you know, gingerly holding on to everything. It's not necessary. And yes, there was a Marilyn moment with the dress as well, bit of upskirting, but hey, fabulous legs, Camilla. Fabulous legs, Your Majesty, if I may be so bold. Ooh la la. Now we know. Now we know one of her secrets. Lovely. But, you know, my dear, sew some weights into the hem, some extra weights. It's about preparation, you know. I don't know if she was a Girl Guide or a Brownie or a Cub Scout or a Beaver, but Baden-Powell, BP, be prepared. This is drummed into whether she was guiding or, you know, just general public schooling. You know, it's about preparation. But she did look lovely. I was thrilled at how lovely she looked, and I was thrilled at how nice she looked at the state banquet, state dinner. No, I'm going to call it a banquet. At the banquet, at the feast, at the Palace of Versailles. And I will quote Dior, even though we're still not happy with Dior, are we, my dear, for dressing Harry. Dior says, a regal appearance for the state dinner held this evening at the Chateau de Versailles. Queen Camilla appeared in an exquisite Dior couture evening gown and cape in midnight blue silk crepe, specially dreamed up by Maria Grazia Chieri. A masterpiece epitomizing Dior savoir-faire. Stunning. Stunning. It was devastating in its simplicity. Extremely royal and befitting of a queen. Now, it was unusual to see the coordination, because whispers say there was coordination between the Queen and Madame Macron. They both wore the same shade of midnight blue, or at least very similar. They both wore Dior. And it was lovely. And I wouldn't have thought that I would have gone for that kind of pairing, but it did showcase unity. It was unifying. It showcased the similarity, but it also highlighted the differences between the two, and the two different styles of the English and the French. The loose tailoring of the king in particular, one might almost say baggy, you know, that style contrasted with the trim cuts of President Macron and Brigitte. Nice contrast. And I like seeing the differences, you know. I go against, who was it that was saying, oh yes, someone in the know in fashion, saying that King Charles would take tip out of King Philippe of Spain's look, you know, which is so sharp, and pull that together. No. Charles takes his hints from the way of aristocracy and the old upper classes and old school. And the French do things their way. And I love always. And, you know, it should be suited to the individual and the history. So just the little differences and contrasts is wonderful. And Madame Macron has looked very chic as well over the last few days. Hugh Grant was there, grumpy old Hugh Grant, looking a delight, as was Mick Jagger, who looked a little bit like Janet Street Porter, to be honest with you, but they were there, they were enjoying themselves, he was wearing his trainers, and they were with their bows. And the Queen's necklace and earrings are from the King George VI collection of sapphires. The necklace and the earrings were a gift from the late George to the late Elizabeth, a wedding gift. And she liked them so, but she didn't have anything to pair them with, so she commissioned rings to go with it and a bracelet to go with it, with that collection. She had a tiara as well that matched, but she commissioned those in 1963, so sometime after the wedding. And today we have moved from pink to midnight blue to white from Fiona Clare. Shoes by Chanel, Cartier jewels, and table tennis. Yes, she was playing table tennis today. She started off quite well from what I could see, but then she had a few useless moments. Bit of a damp squib. But she is a game bird. You've got to give it to our Queen. She is a game bird. And this was during a visit to a gymnasium. How odd. And the King received a standing ovation following an historic address to the French Senate. He is the first British monarch in history to do so. And did you see all the photos and the videos? He was greeted with great enthusiasm on the streets of Paris. They were very warm and welcoming. Merci, Paris. The King continued a tradition of planting trees in the British residence in Paris. His mother planted 3 trees there during her tenureship as Queen in 1957, 1972 and 2015. So another visit, another tree. And Madame Macron was gorgeous today in red. I loved the fabulosity of that red Chanel, presumably, that she was wearing. Fabulous, fabulous coat. She was with the Queen at the Bibliothèque Nationale de France, the National Library, to present a new French-British literary prize to be awarded for the first time next year. They were having great fun, and I must say they've been very attentive hosts to their Majesties, helping the Queen with her cape, all sorts of things, helping her out during the blustery weather. Just a nice sense of bonhomie. Very nice. And Camilla tried her hand at the weave. She was at the Chanel offices today with Madame Macron at the loom. She left the web, she left the loom. She made eyes at the President across the room. Yes, of course she did. There she weaves by night and day, a magic web with colours gay. And among the gay scene was the CEO of Chanel, Lena Nair. Prince William has been doing amazing stuff in the Big Apple. He was at the Billion Oyster Project. And seafood makes me queasy, dear. Absolutely queasy. But imagine all those pearls from a billion oysters. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? All those pearls. Not that pearl, Meghan. They ain't talking about you. He was rather charming in his waders, wasn't he? Oh, yes, charming, and flashing that smile. The Billion Oyster Project is a unique initiative to restore oyster beds in New York Harbour. Do you know, I've just realised, my dear, that I'm not overheating. It's so nice. The weather's cooled here a little bit, and usually by this time I'm under contortions of heat, but today it's rather clement and rather nice, and actually a pleasure to get through the broadcast. I digress. He looked charming, and when he was wading, he began getting his bits wet in the water. Big Willie, on the brink and on the shrink. Oh, you must forgive me, my dear. Indulge me if you will. He met with children who are studying marine biology, and the organisation said they were beyond honoured by Prince William's visit and giddy after his clear enthusiasm for our work. And all through the press, here and abroad, he's been receiving high praise for his qualities as a statesman, coming into his own, and as an ambassador. It's good that he was alone for this visit. We'll get to see him paired with the princess in Singapore for more Earthshot activities, but for this visit, wonderful that he's doing his own thing. And he got to meet with the president of Ecuador, and Granny was watching over him, yes, via Andy Warhol. And in all interactions with the crowds and the people that he meets, I see so much Spencer in him, I have to say, whether it's Diana or Diana's brother, Charles Earl Spencer, so much in his facial expressions, his looks, this sort of thing. And we all know that he was particularly close to Diana in those formative years. She would treat him almost like a friend rather than a son at times. And he was privy to so much that went on, good and bad. And I know this must be annoying for Harry. This must be very triggering for Harry. At Ten House in New York, which was the closest firehouse to the World Trade Center, where 6 firefighters were lost, Commissioner Laura Cavanagh said it was an honour to host Prince William at FDNY 10 House today. We engaged in a discussion about how mental health plays a big role in the overall health of our members and how the FDNY changed its approach to mental health counselling after 9/11. And William visited the quarters of Engine 10 Ladder 10 in Manhattan and was shown memorials in and outside of the firehouse, which paid tribute to fallen members of the FDNY. And I'm afraid it's only natural to make comparisons with what we saw at the Invictus Games last week. But do you see how William and Catherine don't behave like excitable rock stars feeling the first flush of fame, stroking egos and having their egos stroked and a lot of back scratching going along in the same way they are cool, sober, elegant and graceful? The exact opposite of a stunt queen, which is what we see coming from both Meghan and Harry, it has to be said. They are their royal majesties, the stunt queens. Prince William also revealed that he'd been out for a morning jog in the park, a run in Central Park, and did you notice, as far as I'm aware at the time of recording, no paparazzi, no shots, no car chase, no, none of that kind of nonsense on stilts or that kind of mischief, my dear. A simple run, no one notices, no one knows about it. What a refreshing contrast. And we've seen it this week with the King on his humble walk and the Prince on his humble run. They just get about their business like everybody else and don't think of themselves as anything special and don't expect everyone to behave like it. Another one doing fabulous work is Catherine, who was at Streets of Growth in East London, a charity that transforms the lives of young people who find themselves in difficult and dangerous circumstances. She took part in a mental health podcast. Oh, Jesus. Almost every engagement they get up to now is mental health, isn't it? Mental health is, mental health that. It's because there are so many Fruit Loops now coming through. Everyone's insane. Everyone's losing the plot, especially in the wake of COVID. Mad world. And I'm not saying these organisations aren't needed, by the way, and that I don't support them, because I do. It's just an observation of how ubiquitous they are and how much the shift of focus has had to change for the royal family and what they look at, which is natural. Things do shift throughout time, don't they? It's just rather upsetting, isn't it, to think how much suffering there is out there. And we all, at some point or another, suffer. So it is an important point to address. The blazer was moiré, single-breasted, silk and wool in beige. The Rossi pumps in bisque suede. To the lobe, our princess wore cushion drop and diamond hoop citrines by Kiki McDonough. Prince William continues his campaign of awareness of depression and suicide. 12 families came together with their memories of losing a loved one in tragic circumstances to publish a booklet called 12 Memories of Sudden and Unexpected Loss. This is designed to help air ambulance members navigate sudden deaths. And as patron of the air ambulance charity, Prince William wrote a foreword for the booklet. No two experiences of bereavement are ever the same. The sudden and unexpected loss of a loved one can be profoundly difficult to process even with the passing of time. However, some solace can be found through the sharing of experience. The families who have contributed to this booklet have shared the most precious of memories, thoughts and feelings. I would like to thank them for opening up and allowing us into their very personal journey. I hope this booklet will provide some comfort and support and that you might find it useful. For those reading this who are bereaved and whose world is now very different, my thoughts are with you. Prince William. Very worthwhile, and what a fabulous season that we've been coming into with royalty so far since they've all returned from their breaks and from the summer, swung right into action, devoted to service and doing us very proud, aren't they, my dears? Real fabulous ambassadors for our country and our nation, emitting such goodwill and receiving goodwill from other corners of the globe. This week it's France and America, with lots of other fruits from all around the globe beckoning and ready to be picked from the tree coming up. Something to look forward to. Thank you for sharing your time with me, my dears. Lovely cosy catch up. I'll see you very soon. Enjoy the rest of the evening and leave me a fruity thought if you wish to. My tip jar is in the description box, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra, my dears, and toodle pip.